Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of My Sunderland 11. As always, we are in association with the Sunderland Food Bank and the Sunderland Fans Museum as well. Please go and check them out. Links are in the description below. With me today, a very, very special guest. We have Sunderland AFC chaplain, priest, Father Marc. How are you?
Hello, Matthew. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Some good news around the club. The past few days, we've had got to a Wembley final, brand new takeover. So yeah, things are really well at the moment. How's your sort of lockdown been now? The third one.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, as a priest, a lot of the time you only leave the house is to go and do funerals or visit sick people, and I've been on the wards and visited people with coronavirus, and it's been a challenging year, but. Yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel now, and as you said, there's a lot of good news stories going around with the football as well. So things are on the up. So I'm feeling positive.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully so. How have you sort of kept in touch? Because I'm sure the church services you'd normally do have been quite badly affected by COVID. How have you kept in touch with like your congregation?
Yeah, I mean we've had to close several times. There's a lot of health and safety issues about communal gatherings. So there's new strict kind of safety procedures in church, socially distanced. So the church has to be deep cleaned before and after every mass. You need stewards to come in and sit people down. Some of the pews are taped off, and mass is kind of slightly shortened. So there's a lot of hard work goes into putting masses and church services back on, thanks to volunteers. So there's been some big challenges, but it's amazing how people adapt.
Yeah, I'm sure your job as a priest is to obviously help people through their sort of tough times. I'm sure have people kind of reached out for help to you during their lockdown. Are they finding things difficult?
Oh yeah, I mean, what's been interesting as a priest actually, Matthew, is a lot of young people have been following up, getting in touch. I think when people have been in lockdown and they've been faced with such a tragedy and such awful events, seeing it on the news constantly, it's really made people think more deeply about life, about death, about what happens afterwards, if anything at all. So yeah, we've had a lot of interest.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that you've been keeping busy. I'm sure there's different. It's brought out sort of a different like role if you like. So something slightly different. You go through your life as this job, but then this new challenges. You get these new challenges that just come along, and this is really good experience. I'd think that.
Yeah, and people are great. People adapt, and people help each other. And we've seen that in the local community. And Sunderland in the northeast are great at that. We're very lucky to have a strong community spirit in the northeast, particularly in Sunderland and in here in Seam, where I am now, in the surrounding areas. And we've seen fans helping fans. We've seen lots of good stuff happening from Sunderland fans across the area. So it's been good.
Yeah, as you just mentioned there, you're in Seaham now. So you moved from Sunderland. I think it was in the summertime. You moved from Sunderland down to sort of Seaham. How are you finding that?
Big change, yeah. You see, we don't have any say where we go. The bishop can just call us in and say, right, I want you to go there now, and you have to go. And that's part of the agreement. When you're ordained, you make a vow of obedience to. That's not Corona. I've just had a bit of a cold. Don't worry. Yeah, so you take a vow of obedience, and I was asked to move, but thank God I could have been anywhere in the diocese from Berwick down to Stockton. So I'm not far from the beloved Stadium of Light, and still able to get to all the games when they're back on.
Yeah, I think you did make it very clear in the sort of the newspaper where you said you're still going to be in red and white territory.
And it is. Seaham is firmly red and white territory, which is great for me.
Good to hear. So, Father Marc, people will recognise you probably best from this Netflix series Sunderland Till I Die. Now, obviously, that series covered 2 seasons at the club. The first season was an awful season itself. How did you actually find the documentary, and when you watched it back, did you enjoy it?
I did, yeah. I think it was a fair account of what goes on behind the scenes in a football club, and I think it was what was really good about the documentary. It showed just the strength of feeling and passion amongst the fan base. So I think it was good, and the guys that made it were lovely. They enjoyed being in the Northeast. They enjoyed the club. They got swept up in the magic of Sunderland Football Club. I think they'd all say that as they go back to London and various places where they live, as they crack on with other projects, they'll always have a place in their heart for Sunderland. It was a long time for them to come up and spend a couple of years out of their life up here, and I think they all really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think from the first series, the opening scene from the first series is actually you talking in your church. I think you're saying a prayer for Sunderland, and immediately with that one or 2 minutes, you get a feel immediately for the passion that the people have for the club, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, and I mean, and they get a good kind of aerial shot of the city from and you see the churches and you see the stadium, and you see how. I think it does bring out how faith, football, and family are 3 very important kind of institutions to a lot of Sunderland people.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll sort of move now to what's happening currently with the football. Now, obviously, times are very, very different and very strange with no fans allowed in the stadium. How have you actually found watching the games now as they are with no fans in the stadium?
Oh, yeah, really difficult. I can't wait to get back to a live game. Yeah, it's something I've really missed, and I know lots of other people have. I mean, I'm desperate for a haircut. I hate having my hair long like this.
Yeah.
I'm the barber to open, but more importantly than that, I kind of wait for the stadium of light to open and get back. And it's a good way of venting all your anger and frustration of the week out. You can scream and shout from the stands, and just seeing live football again. I cannot wait to be back.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people are like that as well. Is there something like in particular you miss about sort of going to the games?
Yeah, you feel you feel really part of a community when you go along. Got to know a lot of people there, so you can meet up with people, and just seeing football. It's a passion for most people in this country, certainly in the Northeast. So yeah, just being part of that great institution.
Yeah, exactly. And just sort of sticking with the football club and yourself, if I take you right back, what were your sort of memories of growing up watching football, and how did you actually start supporting Sunderland?
I think, well, I'm originally from Hebburn, in South Tyneside, next to Jarrow, and Hebburn is pretty 50-50 really between Newcastle and Sunderland. In the street where I grew up, there's one pub for Newcastle fans and one pub for Sunderland fans. So I grew up with that rivalry, and I think just granddad and people in the family were of the red and white persuasion, and just grew up listening to stories, hearing about it. I think I've said before a few times that the first game I went to actually wasn't a Sunderland game at all, but it was at Roker Park. I can't even remember the year now, but it was England B squad, which tells you how long ago it was, v Czechoslovakia B squad. And I was just a kid, but I remember going along. That was my first encounter with Roker Park, first encounter with a live football game. And it was fantastic, and I wanted to go back, and then started going back to Roker Park with family members, and then obviously onto the stadium of life. So I suppose, like most people, just being part of the family, part of life growing up.
Exactly. So you're supporting the football club. You grow up supporting the football club. Going to the games, and then there becomes a point where you actually get involved with the football club. How did that come about?
Well, Interestingly, I mean, I think most clubs now, certainly Premiership clubs, have a chaplaincy element. Um, they have a person who has some kind of pastoral responsibility that's attached to the club. Um, Most sport, and it may surprise people to know that actually lots of sports have chaplains attached to them. Horse racing, rugby clubs, grassroots football, as well as all the big clubs. Um, and Sunderland have bought into that. I think that there was certainly before I was there, there was a chaplain. So a position came up for chaplain. They were looking for just a local clergy person to be involved, to link in, and volunteered, went and had some discussions with the club, and then got involved. Um, it depends on the ownership, it depends on management, it depends on the team setup, how much or how little you're involved with uh, the actual players, and how much you're involved with the club. Um, Sometimes there's been times, there was a couple of years where I was going through to the academy, and celebrating mass every Friday morning, and used to have a good crowd of players that would come along. And it goes in swings and roundabouts, and you get a squad of players that might necessarily want that, and then a cycle where it comes round again. But as far as a chaplain's concerned, I mean, I go along to all the matches, and if anyone's at the club that needs any kind of help or support, or funeral services, wedding services, things like that, or just a chat, then the chaplain's there to do that. And as I always say to people, chaplain Sunderland Football Club, what's the players? I go, but actually, a football club is much more than just 11 guys on the field. There's hundreds and hundreds of staff that go into working for our club. So it's a varied role, and on top of what I do at the moment.
Yeah, one thing I had to bring up, while you're the chaplain of Sunderland, and I'm sure a lot of supporters really enjoyed that you did this, is you went and met the Pope. You went to Rome and met the Pope, and gave him a Sunderland shirt. I've actually got the photo here. So how was that experience?
It was good, yeah. I mean, a close personal friend of mine, Pope Francis. I've met him a couple of times now. That was the first time, and the Pope is a huge football fan. And actually, he was a season ticket in Argentina before he was made Pope. Used to go and watch their version of the Premier League, I suppose. I'm told he doesn't have a television, but he gets the Swiss Guard apparently to keep him up to date with who's in the top four of the Premiership, La Liga, and the Italian League as well, and of course back home in Argentina. So he's always been a huge fan. So yeah, met him, give him that strip a few years ago. The club gave me it when I told him I was going out. Wasn't sure that I would meet him. Obviously, you go into an audience of thousands of people, and he came by, presented him with him. And in his broken English, he kind of said, they're not doing too well at the moment. I can't remember where we were in the league, but I knew we were playing Newcastle the next game, and I said, oh no, but I said to him, we've got our local rivals, will you pray for us? Oh, he said, yes, I will. And then, of course, we beat Newcastle the following game.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I think I think didn't he say a prayer for Sunderland, and we stayed up that season?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the power of a prayer. I mean that season almost. The shirt that he's wearing that season, we were doing really bad. I remember we had who's Gus Poyet as the manager, and we looked like we were going to go down, and we literally pulled off a miracle. Beating Chelsea away, Man United away, and it was incredible. So I think we have to. There's a lot to thank the Pope for there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real. I mean, the thing about sport in Sunderland, it's a roller coaster of a ride, and it's never going to be dull. It can be awful, depressing, but it's never going to be dull. And as you said at the start, we've got infection rates falling in terms of coronavirus, light at the end of the tunnel, and we've got, in terms of football, we've got a cup final to look forward to again, and a new owner, which to me looks very promising. Very young bloke, but by all accounts, very intelligent, smart, shrewd, with a lot of financial backing behind him, and seems, all indications are that he really buys into the idea of being a custodian of a great institution that he wants to build on, and he will have the backing of the fans and supporters and the city, and no doubt about it.
Exactly, yeah. The light at the end of the tunnel. Father Marc, one thing I really ask you, just out of interest, really, for someone that's involved in the football club and so involved in the people as well of Sunderland for a long time, and I know it's different in the northeast, and it's different. It's very different to where I live, and it might be a silly question from a Sunderland fan to another Sunderland fan, but for people watching who are from different places, it's a little bit different. What effect does the actual football club have on the city of Sunderland?
Well, it has a huge effect. Whereabouts do you live, Matthew?
I live in Essex, just outside London.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Well, up here you will get a taste for it. When Sunderland win, people are buzzing for a few days. Next morning, Sunday morning, normally people come into mass with a spring in their step. I'm sure people going into school, into work, into colleges. There's a buzz about the place, and you can feel it's tangible when we're being defeated. There's a sense of loss in the city, and depression, and people get really down. So yeah, you can feel it. It's electric when we're winning, which hopefully is going to be a lot more often now we've got new ownership.
Yeah, I feel it's one of those things as well. When the football club's doing well, I think the city does well, and everything's a lot better. It's different where I live. In London, there's a lot of things going on, and then you've got different teams like Tottenham, Arsenal, West Ham. You've got a lot going on. But in Sunderland, I always feel that it's just that one football club that just brings so many people together, and when it does well, it feels like everything else does well.
Well, someone should interview you, and you can tell us how someone in Essex is such a passionate Sunderland supporter, and how did that happen?
Well, my dad, you see, moved down here about 30 years ago now, I think, and me and my brothers had absolutely no choice. There wouldn't be any birthday presents if we weren't Sunderland fans, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Good. Well, I'm pleased you're flying the flag. It's down there in Essex. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So, Father Marc, we've just heard sort of what Sunderland means to people of Sunderland. But my last question before we go through your starting 11 is, in your own words, what does Sunderland AFC mean to you?
Well, it's about community. It's about coming together with a common cause. It's about a proud institution that generations of families have been involved in, and that includes families like yourselves, like your dad when he's moved away, and as you know yourself, there's lots of people that have moved abroad from Sunderland for work or travel and started families, which has led to a very passionate global fan base. So it's about community, it's about tradition, it's about family coming together. And actually, I'm very proud that the club gets involved with initiatives, like the food bank and lots of things for the community to help those most vulnerable in the city. So for me, I think the football club can, and more often than not, is a huge force for good in the local community.
Absolutely, it's a fantastic way to put it. And we'll look back now at some of your best memories of the club by going through your Sunderland 11. So we'll start off. Who do you have in goal?
Well, I hummed and hard about this. you asked me last night, and these are all people, by the way, that I've had to put a few legends in that I couldn't ignore. But I've tried to keep with people that I've seen play. I didn't put a great deal of thought to it. But for the goalkeeper, I was torn between going with a historical legend of Jimmy Montgomery or Vito Manoni. And in the end, forgive me, Jimmy, but I went with Vito Manoni. And I think he was a great player for us, a great ambassador for the club, very passionate. And I remember talking to the lad that he must have been a talent scout, I think, that spotted Vito when he was a young lad. He used to work for Arsenal, this fella. He was telling us, and it was at Vito's wedding, actually, went to his wedding. And this fella was telling us why he signed him, because he signed him for Arsenal as a young lad. And he says, the reason I signed Vito, he says, I'd had a few, obviously he was a very good player, but I had a few on the books when I was out doing international roaming for Arsenal. And he said, I was watching this game, he said, it was miserable, it was uneventful, but a striker came forward to Vito Manoni, and this young lad, he had a split second to make up his mind what to do, and he couldn't get his hands up in time, he couldn't get his legs up in time, so he said Vito just shoved his face right in the ball and absolutely smacked with the ball. And he said that I'm signing that lad because he's willing to put himself at risk. He's willing to do anything to stop that goal from going in that goal. And so he signed him on the books for Arsenal, and he came through. And I don't think he ever lost that, that complete passion and dedication not to let anything get past that goal. And he's not a showman, some keepers will dive and roll over and jump up and make a big song and dance. He just gets on with the job. And that's who I would want in my goal.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think Vito Manoni was a fantastic goalkeeper, ability-wise, as well as, the passion. I mean, we had that penalty shootout against Lincoln, the Papa John's semi-final, and it brought back a lot of memories. Obviously, I know they're very two different competitions with the League Cup at, Old Trafford that night. And, him saving the penalty and then everyone chanting, oh, Vito Manoni. And I know for a fact that, when we take to a player, I'm sure we'll all live in his heart forever, and he'll live in ours, because he was just a fantastic guy at the same time as being a great player.
Yeah, and a lovely lad, and a lovely wife as well. Florella, his wife, lovely couple, and I wish them well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a fantastic goalkeeper to have. Now, I believe you've gone with a 4-3-3 formation, haven't you?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll go now to your defensive back four. We'll start now with your fullback. So we'll go to your right back first.
Right. Now, is that Phil Bartley, did I say?
That's Phil Bartley, yeah.
Phil, I would say, is unspectacular, but tough. I liked him. I thought he was a good player, and I remember speaking to him once, and he was saying how much the professional game, had changed so much since he started professionally, and he had to adapt, and he had to really get fit, because he said, the modern day fullback is expected to be right up front and then straight back down, and he was someone that made the effort, really put the effort into to keep fit. Again, I'd say tough, not scared to make decisions, and was an intelligent footballer. I think he's working for his coaches, but I think he might have got his license, his B license for coaching, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets into coaching. And I think he's a good, solid, steady player.
Yeah, I mean, he's still going strong in the Premier League now with Burnley, and that just shows really. I mean, a great player he was. Footballing wise, he scored quite a lot of goals, and they weren't just tap-ins. He scored these screamers of goals. He'd get the ball on the edge of the box, and there was only one place where it was going. It was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that he's still in the Premiership now, still doing his stuff. and that's testament to his his fitness, his commitment to stay fit, stay focused, and work hard. And he was always good to the younger lads as well. So yeah, I think I would definitely have him in my starting 11.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So we'll switch now to your left back. Who will be playing there?
I think I said Julio Arthur.
Julio Arca, yeah.
Again, I remember when he signed. Can you remember the year he signed?
I think it was.
20 years.
We're going back some time. I think
I was about 20, 21 when he signed, and I remember thinking, God, this is great. I was really excited that we were getting this foreign whiz kid to come in.
Yeah.
And he just had skill. He had great skill. I mean, I think he always used his left foot as well, didn't he? Which was kind of magical. You never see him play with his right foot. But again, fit, intelligent, but real skill. He wasn't just a hard-working footballer. He had skill. And I didn't know him at the time. I met him because he stayed around, of course. I know he went to Borough, didn't he? And then he stayed around South Shields later. If I remember right, he got himself a local girlfriend at the time. But again, someone that he came from a country and an area where football was just ingrained in the local community, the passion. When he came to the Northeast, he bought into that. He was used to it. He was comfortable with it, and that's probably why he stuck around the Northeast for as long as he did. But I would put him in on the strength of just the skill that you could see him produce, and he could pull something out of nothing. So I've got a lot of time for him.
Yeah, he signed in 2000. By the way, 2000s when he signed. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think a few people have chosen Julio Arca in their team. I mean, my older brother who watches these videos as well. He loves Julio Arca as well, and he was that great player in that time. Very creative. I think the free kick that he scored against Middlesbrough. I think just before he left for them, really. And he was a great player. And as you say, someone who really did buy into the area. How many times do we see someone who comes to Sunderland, just for for a little bit of money? They go, oh, I'll play there for a few years, no problem. Julio Arca came, from Argentina and bought into the club, into the area, and he stayed.
Yeah. Well, he didn't come. I mean, obviously he came for a wage, but he didn't come just to get a good wage packet. And he came to show his skill and to buy into what we were about, and he loved it. And if you were interviewing now, he would say how much he loved his time at Sunderland. He really did. So yeah, he'd be in my starting 11.
Fantastic. Yeah, so we've got two strong fullbacks there. We'll head now to your centre backs. Do you want to talk us through each one of those?
Yeah. Well, first of all, shall we go the legend that is Charlie Hurley? Put Charlie Hurley in there again, just because that legend status he has. Great character. I've been lucky enough to meet him a couple of times when he's been over. I know there's a fans campaign to have a statue for him, and I'll be right behind that. That seems to have went off the radar a little bit, but I would love to see that happen. He was well known to a lot of parishioners because he used to go to mass every single week and several times during the week. His faith was very important to him. So he was often at St. Mary's in Sunderland or St. Cecilia's and other churches around the place. Great man of faith, and just a hard-working football. I think, if I'm right, his debut when he started playing at fullback, Sunderland lost. He was telling me this, by the way. So he started his playing career as a fullback for Sunderland, and in his first game of playing for them, they were beaten 7-0. And imagine if you had have been a fan in those days and seen this new player at fullback here, they've led in 7. You would never think in a million years that guy was going to go on to to have cult status and a campaign for a statue for him one day.
Yeah.
But again, loved the club, loved the area, and wanted to put a shift in for the fans. And because historically, and this is people telling me this because I unfortunately never seen him play. He really showed that he wanted to work hard for the fans and somehow communicated that to people watching. So I'd have him, good cork man. I'd have him my starting 11 definitely.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic to get a statue of him. I know we've already got the obviously the old training ground was called the Charlie Hurley Centre, and now we have the gates outside the Stadium of Light. So it's not a lot of people. Obviously, the only person we've really got a statue of is Bob Stokoe, outside the stadium. But yeah, it would be great to get a statue of Charlie Hurley. But yeah. So we'll switch now to his defensive partner. Who have you gone with there?
Well, I went with Steve Bowles. I don't know if many people have. I think he only played a season for us, season and a half. I can't remember now. But I remember watching him play. I remember watching him play, obviously, again for Arsenal, and he won everything. And he came to Sunderland with experience. He came with a certain pedigree. He came obviously towards the end of his career. I think it was Reedy who made him captain as well when Bowley left. So and he was a good skipper as well. I think what a lot of people don't know, I think he finished his career. He was playing through a pain threshold when he played for Sunderland because he had arthritis at the time. And I always found him to be a good, solid, professional player. We had a lot of young players in the side at the time as well, and he just gave that air of experience and confidence. And again, apparently was very good with the younger lads as well. So I put him in there just for his pedigree and his experience. And again, as I said before, that willingness to play through a pain threshold because he loved the game and he wanted Sunderland to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he joined at the age of 36, 37 years old. From Arsenal, came to Sunderland for a season, ended his career at Sunderland, and it didn't take him many games to really give the impression of himself, and it's fantastic. It doesn't take you many seasons to make you a hero or to make you a fantastic player. It took him one season, and even I remember Niall Quinn talking about him, and he said he was such a fantastic part of the team, such an important, integral part. And no one really saw that coming. So yeah, that's a fantastic choice in your team there. So that's your back goalkeeper and back four. Now, obviously, playing a 4-3-3, you're going with three central midfielders. So, do you want to talk us through who you've gone with there?
Well, I put in the centre. I put Bowley. I put Kevin Ball.
Yeah.
Again, I would always have a real tough player like him playing in the centre. I mean, nutcase really when it comes down to it. Great passion for the game. Some of the tackles, I mean, you wouldn't get away with them now. That he'd go in and be willing to break his leg to win a throw-in. You don't see players like that anymore. You didn't see them very often then. And he was the type of person that I think, that other players don't want to play against. You don't want to go up against Bowley in the middle of the match. And I think you need to have players like that, with that tenacity or that do or die mentality. I'm going to go in, I'm going to win. If I break my leg, I'm going to win that ball. And again, I know Bowley now. I've seen him around the club a fair bit. And like yourself, he's someone with a southern accent, but someone who, by God, like you, he absolutely loves the club and he'll do anything for Sunderland. So that's why I put him in my starting 11.
Yeah, fantastic choice. A lot of people, I say every single episode, if people don't put him in the team, they'll always find a way to just mention him. Say, I'd love to have got Bawley in there, but they just have to mention him. They can't not mention him, and he's just everything that a supporter would want. And I think it took him time to actually try and get the Sunderland fans' respect. But once he got it, it's just the type of person he is. I'm sure he'd run through a brick wall for anyone, and that's just the type of person he is. So it was great to have a person like that at the club.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll go now to you can just tell us your next central midfielder, left or right.
Well, I'll probably put Jordan Henderson on the right. We didn't see the best of him, of course, and every Sunderland fan will obviously regret that. But I think actually he speaks volumes of just how good our youth system has been, and how good the staff and coaching staff are at our youth academy. When you think of some of the players we've brought through. Again, loves the club, box-to-box midfielder. I know he would play defensively, but he's versatile, really. I mean, he'll go up and attack as well. I think if I was managing him, I'd keep him more of a defensive player. I think he's best in that way. But a versatile player, high-quality player, an intelligent player, knows what he wants to do with the ball and has the skill to do it. I'm talking about these days now, but I think we should all be proud of him. Really, I mean, one of the stars of the England squad is one of our boys who came through our system, and actually still loves the club. So yeah, I'd always put him in starting 11. I think he's a good footballer. Good, intelligent, smart, fit football player, and a product of Sunderland Football Club.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. That. It's so great to see him doing really well. Winning the Premier League, Champions League, UEFA Super Cup, just everything really. And it just shows. And not only is he just one of the squad players, he's the captain. He's captain of Liverpool, and the fact he's done all of that. The things that even Steven Gerrard, probably wanted to do with Liverpool, and Jordan Henderson is doing it. So that's fantastic, and it'll be good to see. If we do get back to the Premier League, it'll be good to see Jordan Henderson maybe give us a year or two to end his career at Sunderland, and I think that would just be a fantastic way, and for him himself, a fantastic way to maybe end his footballing career. Because a lot of footballers can look back on their career and think, oh man, it's a shame I got injured there, and it's a shame I missed out on that and that. He could look back and it'd be the perfect football career.
Right, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Yeah, and just a good, all-round, consistent football player.
Absolutely, yeah. So he works his way into your team there. Great choice. So we're going to now finish off with your final central midfielder. Who have you got there?
Put another legend in who I've never seen play, but would have loved to, and that was Bobby Kerr. Put Bobby in. Small player, small in stature, but huge player for us. Obviously, he was the skipper in the cup final. I think he made something like certainly over 400 starts for the football club, and some of the most important games. Again, another tough nut, and a person who loved the club again. So yeah, I have him in any day of the week as captain, probably.
Have you had a chance to meet Bobby Kerr then?
Yeah, I have had just the once, and he got into the pub game in Sunderland, ran a couple of pubs after retirement. I haven't seen him for a long time, but I hope he's doing well.
Absolutely. I think I might get him on for one of these episodes fairly soon as well, which should be fantastic. But yeah, as you say, Bobby Kerr, the last person to lift a major honour for Sunderland, and it'd be absolutely fantastic if that was to happen again. But he was the last person, so yeah, a complete and utter legend there as well. And also, as we say earlier, someone who buys into the area, because he wasn't originally from Sunderland. I think he was from Scotland, and he's still in Sunderland now. So that just shows really. So that's a fantastic choice you got there. So yeah, that's your midfield three done. We'll head up now to your front three. So we'll start with who you've got on the left wing.
On the left wing, did I have Kevin Phillips?
Yeah, that was one of the front three. Yeah, you can speak about Kevin Phillips first. Yeah.
You have to have Kevin Phillips in your team. Obviously, great. I love those. The happiest football matches I've seen was when Kevin Phillips was there. And I like his football story. He started off at, he wanted to be a striker. He started off at Southampton. He was told he was too short, and they put him in defence, and then they released him. But he still had that belief. He knew he had the potential in him. But I think he was playing semi-professional for a bit and working in a bread factory or something just a few years before he was lifting the golden boot for us. But he was dedicated to the sport. He was dedicated, and he had the inner belief to keep going and keep pushing himself. And eventually he did. He got picked up, and he came into Sunderland, and obviously went from professional, semi-professional, back into professional, and came in and managed to persuade whoever it was at the time that he had the potential to be up front and knock goals in, and he could do it. And when he was allowed to be who he can be, he thrived. And obviously he made a great partnership with Quinny, which we'll talk about in a moment. Spoiled the surprise there, but just fantastic, just absolutely fantastic to watch. Yeah, really magic time for Sunderland fans.
Yeah, I spoke to Kieran Brady, and he said about Kevin Phillips. He said he wouldn't want to describe it as arrogance, but Kevin Phillips was very much aware, and he was very confident in his own footballing ability and what he could do, and it just proves it really. It wasn't just tap-ins he scored. Yeah, he did score tap-ins, but he scored the most incredible volleys. The chip against Newcastle, in the rain, I think, and just any goal you could think of, and that was the person to do it. And I think everyone would agree, probably one of the greatest ever players to play for the club. And similar to Kevin Ball, if they can't put Kevin Phillips in the team, they'll still mention him.
Amen. And I'm sure that he'll come back as manager one day. I'm sure of it, and that'll be great.
Yeah, absolutely. It will. Should happen. It should happen at some point. But when he comes back, I'm sure that will get a lot. When eventually we are back in the stadium, I think a lot of people will come back to games that weren't going for a long time just to see him stand on the touchline. That would be an incredible moment. Yeah, it really would. So we'll switch now. To who you've got on the right wing. Who you've got there?
Well, as I've already let out, Niall Quinn. Again, magic time. I used to wake up excited on a match day to be going to the stadium and like to see those two play together. Obviously, Quinny, much taller, great command of the ball in the air. I've seen him score some great headers, really use his head in more ways than one, and just a really tough bloke, really nice man that cared about the community. That wanted, actually, not only did he want to work hard and put a shift in for the club and understood what it meant to it, cared about the team, cared about the younger lads, would be a helping hand to them, but wanted to use, if you can call it celebrity, wanted to use his status, wanted to use his profile, if you want, to do good things for good people. And he did, he did a lot. So yeah, a great guy to have around. I should imagine great guy in the dressing room, and obviously him and Phillips together were just magic, just magic to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Made all the main points there. Really, yeah. Kevin Phillips and Marc, and probably the one of the best Sunderland duos you'd ever see. And of course, an incredible man as well. I've mentioned it so many times on previous episodes, but I've got to mention it again. We could take it back to when the Sunderland fans weren't allowed on the aeroplane at Cardiff Airport, and then he did his best to buy them all taxis and get them all back to Sunderland again. And just the little things, because you can be a fantastic player, but maybe not spend as much time, with the fans. We've seen it before in the Premier League where, we've had these good players and then they sort of come out with the fans, take a photos here and there, and they want to be on their way. But Narquin wanted to stop and actually get to know everyone and brought into the area.
Yeah, it wasn't just a case of with Niall. It's not just a case of actually these guys are paying my wages. These fans are paying my wages. So I want to be nice to them and all the rest of it, which some players do. All well and good, but it was much more than that. It was like, actually, yeah, these guys pay my wages, but I can inspire, I can help, and I'm part of an institution which them and their families have belonged to for years and will do for generations. And he had a great understanding of that and wanted to be the best for them. So yeah, great guy.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so the great choice though. So you got Quinn and Phillips on the wings. Now it's all been leading up to the person you've got in the striker position, person who will lead the line. Who have you got there?
My favourite footballing character of all time, Brian Clough. Absolutely love Brian Clough. Always been a fan of his. I was talking to Father Bill O'Gorman, who is a retired priest that I work with, who's been a Sunderland fan for many years, and he was at the game on Boxing Day when the injury took place there in his career. But just a big, huge footballing character, the greatest manager that we never had. People describe him as that very often. Big, colourful character that was just skillful, fantastic, fit, energetic, passionate, cheeky, lively, funny, creative, bold, generous, just a top quality. And I would pay big money, not that I've got big money, but if I did, I'd pay big money to see him play. I just think he was one of footballing greats really in this country. And to think that he played for our club and loved our club is really special.
Yeah, and he says the best time of his, football and manager career, his whole football life, the best time he ever had was his time at Sunderland. And to hear someone like that value the club, I mean, for me, someone who was born in 2003, I was born in 2003, and to see only a handful of good players, and to hear someone like that of everyone who knows Brian Clough, and they know he's a fantastic manager and one of those main people in football, to hear someone like that talk about the club like that and value it, it's just fantastic to hear.
Yeah, when I'm bored, which isn't very often, if I'm doing some playing on my phone, I always end up typing Brian Clough into YouTube and just watching some of his interviews and watching him play. I just love to listen to him as well. Just a fantastic footballing man. So definitely in my starting lineup.
Fantastic. Yeah. So as we can see there, your team's going along the bottom. It's a very solid team. And now, of course, with every team, you need a manager. So who have you gone with to take this team forward?
Well, if it couldn't be me, I chose Martin O'Neill as my manager. I became involved in the club when Martin O'Neill was there, and I got to know him quite well, and I just genuinely like him. I think he's a nice guy. I think he was good at man management. He was good at bringing a sense of team. Didn't go well towards the end. We all know that, and he moved on. But I think he's just a very good coach and a seasoned professional and just very experienced. So that's why I put him as manager.
Yeah, it's a shame it never worked out with him. But when he first came in, we started to play some really good football, and even when we're going to the matches again, and it was really fun. I loved his chant as well. The Neil, that was fantastic as well. He was a really good manager, and it was a shame it never worked out with him in the end.
But like you say, I mean, when he came in with a hell of a bounce. I mean, I know a lot of new managers come in with a bounce, but I mean, when he came in, we were looking dire, really. We looked really bad. We were heading relegation, really. and he came in with such a bounce, and we started charging up the table in the first few games. And I remember, we're going to be playing Champions League football in 3 years with this guy. And this is great, but it wasn't to be. But good coach, good manager, and again, a nice guy. And it's important to have nice people around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've met Martin. I know quite a few times. I met him in a hotel before. When the Sunderland team was staying there before a game, and he genuinely was just such a nice person, and it is really good to see that. So you do make a good point. You do need those nice characters in your team as well.
Yeah.
So that's your team and your manager then, and it sort of does bring us to the end, Father Marc. So thank you very much for coming on. I've really enjoyed it and listening to you speak. How have you found it?
Very enjoyable. Nice to talk to you, Matthew. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you very much. One question I ask all the guests before we end it: have you got a message for the Sunderland supporters watching?
My message would be the same to my parishioners: keep the faith. Keep the faith. We're on the way up. Stay positive. I'd say don't get involved in negativity, or buying into negativity online, on Twitter and social media and things like that. And keep the faith. We're heading to a cup final. We've got a billionaire new owner. We've got a good bunch of lads at the moment that want to achieve, and we've got great staff, great facilities, and I think the future is bright.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and as we keep saying throughout the whole episode, there is light at the end of the tunnel. So we'll be there. We'll be there soon, and things will hopefully get better, and we can all be there in the stadium together. Sooner rather than later. But yeah, just thank you everyone for watching. As always, the video is in association with the Sunderland Food Bank and the Sunderland Fans Museum as well. I know the Fans Museum are looking at some volunteers to come in and give them a hand. So I'll leave all the details on how you can get involved in the description below. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in the next episode. How are the lads?